All right. I know it's been a little while, but I got a sudden burst of inspiration a few days ago, and I kind of want to get back to making YouTube videos again. I might even transition to a podcast format. So in the meantime, I'll try something like this, just talk about my thoughts on various scenes and movies, which I will probably have less images for, because I think it would be really cool to eventually turn this into a podcast, but in the meantime, I do just want to have, I don't know, give it a tester. So, a few weeks ago, I rewatched the movie Southland Tales, and okay, it's a little bit of a mess, but it is one that I really admire the ambition of. It falls apart in the last 40 minutes, I would say, but even still, I admire how bold and creative it is, and there's a lot of memorable scenes and great performances, especially from, I think it's arguably one of The Rock's best performances. And so I was really hoping to talk about the famous scene from it where Justin Timberlake injects himself with fluid karma and then starts singing The Killers, All These Things That I've Done song. I think it really, Richard Kelly is described as the heart and soul of the movie, and I even with it being kind of difficult to discern, I can definitely see where he's coming from with that. It has a lot of heart to it and a lot of bizarre symbolism and themes from it, and I love dissecting stuff like that. So, I'm just gonna try to break it down and a lot of behind the scenes stuff related to it, stuff Richard Kelly has said, and just like some of the various symbols in the sequence. So, for starters, I think it's worth mentioning that Justin Timberlake, as well as most of the other actors in the film, have admitted in the past that they didn't even really understand it, but they still liked it very much. Justin Timberlake described it as performance art, something that evokes more emotion rather than just straight up meaning, which I suppose fits pretty well for a scene like this. And Timberlake was only on this movie for about they only had 24 hours in total to have him film all of his sequences, so they were just rushing through everything. When they filmed this scene, they didn't even have the rights to All These Things That I've Done, so they just shot it. Richard Kelly had to fight with the producers to make sure it stayed in, and then they had to pray that the Killers would be cool with it, which they were. They loved it, so this got to be included in the movie, although I'm sure it was a very bizarre scene to come up with out of nowhere. And I think, so, Southland Tales, I guess just to get it out of the way, is a movie that's very hard to discern the meaning of, just because there's so much going on. It discusses politics, it criticizes the military-industrial complex. There's stuff on religion, celebrities, sci-fi, time travel. There's way too much for one movie, and when that happens, I think it leads to each thing being stretched a little thin. And so, yeah, I guess for this sequence in particular, there's a lot of different meanings that could be described from it. But the main one, based on what I've gathered, is, well, I guess I should describe it first. So, Pilot Abilene is an Iraqi war veteran who has come back from service after being discharged from a friendly fire incident with a grenade permanently scarring his face. He used to be an actor before he got drafted, and while not conveyed super well in the film, Richard Kelly wrote Pilot Abilene to be seen as a sort of propaganda tool for the United States. Abilene is named after the Texas city that was bombed and started the chain of events in the story. He was a movie star and was drafted as a show of power from the U.S. government, as well as something that could be seen, I guess, to inspire the troops, much like how Elvis was drafted into the military many years ago. So in the scene itself, basically Pilot Abilene injects himself with a special sci-fi drug that's been used on various soldiers within the Southland Tales world called fluid karma. It's created by the Baron van Westphalen, played by Wallace Shawn, and, well, it is a little confusing. I did try to read the prequel graphic novels, and while they explain some of the stuff that's going on, it's still very much a confusing movie. But so in this sequence, he takes the drug and passes out. When he wakes up, we're put into this very bizarre hallucinogenic dance scene where he is surrounded by a bunch of Marilyn Monroe nurses dancing alongside him while he drinks beer and sings all these things that I've done by the Killers. And by the end of it, you see a very broken, tortured man. And I don't know, from what I've gathered from all of the music and like bravado in that movie, I think it does kind of represent that hoorah, hell yeah, American nationalism that is present in the military in this movie. But so that's what Abilene has at first. He's like he's a propaganda tool. He's named after the city that was destroyed, and on paper it seems like all this stuff is like adding to his confidence. He's got beer, he's got like beautiful women dancing with him, he's got a weird like hangout spot for military troops, but all of it is just superficial. All of this bravado, even the bubbles in the background, they're there to make it seem more content. Like, all of it's superficial, and he seems to realize it by the end. And that's why as he pours that beer out, he's kind of slowly realizes, no, this isn't fulfilling. This isn't bringing what I wanted. And I think that's a very powerful scene, more so than a lot of the other sequences in that movie. And even the lyrics themselves of the song that he lip syncs, they do communicate a kind of anti-war thing. Like, I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. His heart's not really in it. He doesn't fully believe in what he's fighting for because he was just drafted after all. I think there's a lot of really cool symbolism there, mainly in the arcade itself. So it's the Fire Arcade, which is likely named after Arcade Fire, the rock band, since Richard Kelly is a very big music fan. Presumably it's a like hangout location for not just the soldiers but various people around the arcade. There's various like tickets and for like free drinks and free games. It's presumably also like a bar. And since Abilene is such a well-known figure, it does seem like he has a certain degree of respect with the soldiers as they stand guard outside of it. And I guess it is a party spot, especially for soldiers, although it seems like civilians are welcome. But in the arcade, there's also a lot of personal branding, a lot of his symbol of the smiley face with the scar over it, which actually does remind me a little bit of Watchmen. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it's similar to the comedian's badge in that. But the women dancing, I believe, are supposed to be dressed like Marilyn Monroe, at least just based off the hairstyle. And they are, as Richard Kelly put it, like representative of nurses for the soldiers, like specifically Abilene, since he was disfigured back in Iraq. And I think the fact that they are all based off of like, Marilyn Monroe, like the face of American Beauty, it's like it adds to the superficial vibe that he uses to mask all of his pain. And then also as for the blood-soaked shirt he wears, so I'm not entirely sure if there was supposed to be meaning derived from that, but basically Richard Kelly says that when they shot that sequence, they had to film it very fast. They were in a big rush that day. They only had one day to have Justin Timberlake on board. They just only had a plain white shirt, and he went to his crew members, said, I think that's kind of boring. Maybe we should do something to add a little bit of flair to it. What do you have? And all the makeup person had was just a big, like a bucket of fake blood. So he got a paintbrush and just smeared it across the shirt, which I assume, it makes for a very striking image. And I guess it does further add to the idea that he's injured, he's a damaged man. And I have also seen some people suggest that it could be related to some biblical imagery. Obviously, Pilot Abilene and the movie as a whole bases a lot on the Book of Revelations. And I believe in the Book of Revelations there is a distinct figure who's like the rider in white or something like that. And Richard Kelly has also described the movie as a whole as having a very anti-suicide message, as there's the famous "pimps don't commit suicide" line from The Rock, which is a little goofy, but it does play a little more emotionally later on at the end. And this sequence he intended to be kind of a showcase of PTSD and the types of fracturing that war can leave people with. I know I touched upon it earlier, but I do want to mention a little more of the set design, because I do think the movie as a whole is very creative and all the details and Easter eggs it puts into every sequence. And so for this one, just from watching the scene a few times, I've noticed a lot of the stuff around the arcades. There's obviously, again, adding to that nationalism point from earlier, a very large amount of flags and like American propaganda and whatnot. And then there's even also personal branding for Pilot Abilene's smiley face with the scar over it, and then a ACPAHS poster, which is the armor division of Santa Monica that he's a part of, that with the two guns crossed. It's, I think, on most of the equipment he uses. So that's there, and then there's various ATM machines, arcade games that the soldiers are using, bizarre bubbles, and then even, I thought this was a little neat, there's a thing that says Fire Wednesdays, where all tickets count for 2 for 1, so, I like little stuff like that. Adds to the world-building aspect of this movie. I mean, looking further, even the ATM machine is coated in American flags, and the Wheel of Fortune thing has the military poster I mentioned earlier. There's shooter games in the background, I believe that's what that is, with the soldiers in it racing. I don't know. I really do. Oh, and the bar, I assume, is a significant part of it. It's, I don't know, it's a bizarre location. There's smoke and bubbles everywhere, but I think it really adds to the dreamlike aesthetic of it, and again makes the heightened sense of reality from the film all the more clear. I do apologize for this video being it's going to be very rambly-bambly, but I am very happy to try it out, and hopefully that means I'll be able to do more stuff in the future. I really do like this scene. I think, like I said, it has a lot of layers to it, because there's the hoorah, like, American patriotism stuff that covers up how sad his life really is. I mean, on paper, it seems like everything a guy like him could want. He's got big, like, gun turrets, he's got an arcade to hang out with, he's got fame, he's got drugs, he's got beautiful nurses, but none of that really masks who it is. He thinks it does. He wants it to. That's why he pours the beer over him, like, show off all he has. But none of it is fulfilling in any kind of way. And so I think that final shot of him realizing it as he goes progressively more sad is really a great scene to end this. Is really a great note to end this scene on. I mean, as a whole, Southland Tales, I think the more I've thought about it, the more I tend to enjoy it. I really would like to see what else Richard Kelly has planned in store. He claims he's been working on more Southland Tales stuff, although that seems very unlikely to ever come to fruition since the movie did so badly at the box office and very divided among critics. But from what I'm aware, it has developed a cult status over time, one that I think is well-deserved. And I think scenes like this, you give people a lot to talk about. So if you like the video, let me know. I'd be happy to try some more. This is definitely a fun experiment.